Well, hello everyone. You have right here. I'm talking about understanding about greeting cards right here. You see this right here as an example right here of this greeting card, and everybody might say that what's the first thing that comes to your mind when we do speak about any source of greeting card, right? Whenever you do look at a greeting card, that you're thinking is toward okay, yeah, I would like to have a design toward if it's supposed to be for maybe a birthday party or maybe a dinner or something like that, or maybe any sort of party or something like that that you're going to be going to. But let's just say if it's for a dance, like for a dance party or something like that, maybe for dates or something like that. And so I have right here, and I'm sure most of us have seen this before, but how come that we have not heard of any sort of greeting card about it, talking about the what if moments in time toward it. What if this happens? Then what do you do? What if this happens? And maybe what if you would like to ask this person a question and want to know too is that what is their reaction to that? And so, what is their response to that? And so, a lot of times it sure seems that way that, people might say that, hey, that, talk about what if I told you that I have an idea right here? And, so really, what does that mean necessarily? Well, it's like people might say that there's a difference between if you actually talk to yourself about it and compared to saying it out loud, to everybody else. And it sure seems that way that, yeah, that when we do speak about greeting cards, by the way, we're also talking about is that to where that, yeah, if people actually looked at a card, did they see a big image right here with all this writing right here on the front right here, but then you see this right here is like, what if I told you that I have an idea right here? So it sure seems that way that that yeah, every time you think about that and you're warned toward it, whenever you look at a greeting card, you're always thinking toward it, okay, most of the time, most of those greeting cards, by the way, if there's going to be an event or maybe a party or something like that that you're going to be going to, most of the time what you usually see is that be here at this time or something like that. Be there at this time at this location, and this is what you need to bring if you're going to bring any snacks or treats or maybe a guest along with you or something like that. And so it sure seems that way that whenever you do think about that, then you're warned toward it. Yeah, if it's roller skating or maybe if it's at a game or dance party wherever, that you look at this invitation, this greeting card here, and so it sure seems that way that I would like to know that why is it that maybe I have not really seen very many greeting cards that say, what if? What if I told you that I have an idea? What if? And people might say that, okay, what if what? So really, does that give you any sort of clue or an idea about what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that, you would like for me to go with you in somewhere or maybe get a coffee or maybe a hot pretzel or something like that? So it's like, people might say is toward, well, here's the idea, that, I what if you're trying to talk to somebody, I think what you're trying to say is that there is a difference between if you want to show them something incredible, if you want to show them something incredible, impressive, then it's like say yeah, you think of what would you do if the situation comes toward it, if you're trying to tell them something or if you're trying to ask them something, that what would you do? And so everybody say that yeah, the way the card was actually designed is to where you go ahead and write your response on the inside, and people might even tell you too that okay, yeah, you would write your response somewhere inside right there, and people might even tell you too is to where okay, yeah. So you would look at this like a greeting card right here, but what if I told you that I have an idea? And your response will be is toward it. I remember, I get it, I understand, and so I was just thinking is toward it. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and maybe use maybe a gift card or a credit card, for an example or something like that. But like everybody might say that, if you were to try to get somebody to like you for any reason at all, and let's just say that, yeah, I would like to explain, just to make the long story short, that this is what was going on during the time or something like that. So really that. I think that, maybe everybody else would maybe even say is toward it. Yeah, that they would say this right here. They would say that, long story short, it's a really long story. It's to make the long story short, and I would like to just to make the long story short right here. Make the long story short. I'll go ahead and just make the long story short because it's a really long story right here. And everybody says toward it, how often are we really going to hear that? Yeah, it's a really long story, but still, to make the long story short, that, I didn't think that you were going to like what I was going to give to you or something like that. So everybody might say is toward it, yeah, I mean, how many of us would maybe even think that, and most of the time, most long stories, most of the time it's a long story, right? Long stories, and you're thinking that, for whichever reason that, you might think that, okay, yeah, it's a really long story. It's a long story, but still that, so if you were to put that in right there inside this greeting card towards a really long story right here, and people might say that, oh, okay, I'm trying to understand here of, so if this right here was supposed to be any sort of greeting card for sure, that, really, that, why is it that maybe that we have not seen very many of these greeting cards that say that, to make the long story short right here, that, I would like to say is like, what if I told you that I have an idea? I remember, I understand. So if you're going to go ahead and put it like that, and how many people would, yeah, they would take about maybe 13 seconds to look at that card, and you're kind of like wondering, huh, okay, so I guess what are you trying to say here? Like, well, what I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to find something that you would like me for. Like, in case if anybody's wondering that you've been in that situation before, to where that, whenever you go to a party, if you go to a dance party, then you would try to find some way to how to get somebody to like you even more. And one of those reasons maybe is going to be is toward, yeah, the favorite moments right here. But still, I was just thinking is toward, yeah, you try to talk it out, and maybe if you would try to write it out right here. But still, that, the first thing that I would think about is that, yeah, I have an idea of what to do about that in case of this situation happens. You meet somebody, and but then you don't know what to say. The things that you're good at, whichever it is, and to make the really long story short. But this is how I was able to take care of the situation, whichever it is, and I had not seen that on a greeting card before. In case if we're all wondering it, oh, okay, greeting cards, right? Greeting cards. Most of the time with the greeting card, that you get greeting cards almost, you see them almost all the time, but you always want to know too is toward it, that you have these greeting cards. But let's just say if one of them said that, what if I told you that I have an idea? And everybody might say that, well, really, I really don't even know if anybody really understands what is the purpose toward why you want a greeting card that would say something like that. If I told you I had an idea, I remember, I get it, I understand. So it sure seems that way. It's sort of kind of like a thank you letter or something like that. This favorite moment in time was maybe about maybe 2 weeks after the party, and I guess what you're trying to say is that, this moment in time, if you remember that, the party was 2 weeks ago, But what I was trying to say is I wanted to impress you with something, but I was not able to because something came up, and so it sure seems that way. That a lot of times what I usually see is that yeah, you would maybe have like a greeting card, sort of kind of like that, to where that if you were talking to somebody, and let's just say that you come up to this moment to where that you were trying to talk to somebody and try to talk to them and trying to get them to like you for any reason at all, and you're thinking as to where to hey that you're trying to talk to them about something, and you're trying to you know uh, tell them something, and but like you said that do you feel more comfortable writing it down on a greeting card than compared to saying it out loud to everybody else? And everybody else will maybe even say too that yeah, that you actually would much rather write it down on a greeting card rather than to say it out loud. But let's just say that yeah, the what if moment right here, to where if I told you I have an idea, so really that so everybody would say is to where oh okay yeah, what if? So it's like the first thing that comes to your mind is like what if this person didn't agree with what I just said? What if at the moment came to where oh okay, they were expecting a lot more than that, they were expecting a lot more than that and they didn't get it? So what do you do? What do you do if that person didn't quite understand with what you were trying to tell them? So it sure seems that way that so if you would actually kind of imagine that moment, and people might say is toward it, what if this happens? And do you think that maybe anybody might say that if you were to actually talk it out, write it down, and then you would actually discuss it and say that, yeah, even if it was maybe 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and what you were trying to say and what you actually said. And so it sure seems that way that every time you think about that, and you're worried toward it, yeah, that how embarrassed are we in the thinking as to where that we got these moments in time to where that it's something that was maybe 2 weeks ago, and maybe if you were trying to talk to this person about something and talk about for what if, what if I told you I have an idea, and what exactly does that mean? Well, it pretty much means is to where that person is really only going to like you if you just tell them something impressive. If you tell them something that really kind of gets their attention to where that, you know, I, uh, I understand now, I get it, or something like that. So most of the time, if it's maybe supposed to be like maybe a party or somewhere you're going to, if you want to think of at least just one thing that you can tell somebody to get them to like you for any reason at all, that you maybe say that, yeah, I get it, I understand what you're talking about, and so that's why with me that I kept thinking as toward, yeah, what if I told you I have an idea, and so really that when we speak about greeting cards, though, and you're warned toward it, something I can ask and something I can tell right here. But I really had not really seen any of that on a greeting card. And to be quite honest with you, that people might say that why do you think that you want a greeting card that says stuff like that? If you're trying to talk to somebody, why do you think that you want to have it printed on a greeting card rather than talking to them in person about it? And they might say that, well, really, that you only have enough time to make a greeting card to give to somebody else rather than just say as toward, okay, if you actually tell them. So what's their first impression about that? But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.